Hello and welcome back to another and another video. Today we are talking about a fall storm, which will be bringing snow and severe weather to the central part of the country during your Tuesday. So we have our pretty typical fall storm setup with snow on the northern side of the storm, severe weather on the southern side of the storm, all kind of fueling each other. Right, you have the cold air coming in behind the low pressure system, which creates that harsh cold front, which can set up those more drastic severe weather events. And we have the moisture coming up out of the Gulf of Mexico, and that is stretching all the way north into that cold air, creating that snowfall. So, we're going to be talking about that today, but before we get right on into it, if you enjoyed this video and would like to consider helping out the channel, please do so. I really appreciate it. Subscriptions are free, and if you turn on that notification bell, you will never miss another one of my weather updates. But let's get right on into it here. We have winter weather alerts in effect with winter storm warnings in portions of Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Wyoming, Colorado, and Utah. So this is part of a cross-country system that is now branching out into the central U.S. I thought this was going to get named a winter storm, but it does not seem like the winter storm warnings cover enough area and population to meet that quota that is for winter storms. But if the Weather Channel does decide to name this video will be named Winter Storm Beck. That is the next name on the list. So here is our Weather Prediction Center snow probabilities, and I have this on the 50th percentile, showing in this light green shade here in portions of Nebraska here. You can see it. That is 1 to 2 inches of snowfall. In this kind of darker mid-grade shade of green, that's 2 to 4, and in this darker green, that's 4 to 6. In this dark blue, that's 6 to 8, and these lighter blues are 8 to 10 and 10 to 12 inches of snowfall. Now, if we go to our high end, you can see that those colors really boom, especially in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. But if we go down to our lowest percentile, you can see that this is a pretty minimal storm. So we like to use that 50th percentile and even the quartile marks as well to kind of get a general gist of what the storm is going to do. And it seems like a pretty light snow event across the plains with heavier snow in the mountains, which is pretty expected for this time of year. So here is the HRRR. Let's go through some timing here in the northern plains. Minneapolis is over here. That is the largest metropolitan area that's going to be under these winter storm warnings. So you can see here that snow starts to branch into the region at this point. It's at about 5 a.m. Central Time, I believe. Yeah, 5 a.m. Central, and you can see that the snow really starts to pick up right around, that would be, I guess that would be 8 a.m. And the heaviest of the snow moving through the Minneapolis-St. Paul area is right around that noon marker, which is going to be actually beneficial because the storm will be moving out by the time the end of rush hour kind of comes to a close in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, and areas such as northern Wisconsin, up by Duluth, that area, will still be seeing snowfall during rush hour, but the Minneapolis-St. Paul area should be primarily done with snowfall going into rush hour. So here is what the HRRR is showing for snow totals. We can see that the target here is actually, well, in the Rocky Mountains, but in terms of the plains, is in that northern Wisconsin area with 10 to 11 inches across the board. Now, that is a little bit bullish, and if we look at our HREF model, which is what most of the National Weather Service sites use, you can see that the same area is looking like 8 to 10 inches here. So just going by this map, you can see that, let's start here with 2 inches to 4 inches in this dark blue and medium azure color there, and then you go to 4 to 6 inches in this like lighter shade of teal and this darker shade of teal here, and then you have 6 to 8 inches in this like light purple, and then 8 to 10 in that dark purple. So really seems like a lighter snow event in the area, but still going to be fairly significant, going to be covering some of those more populated areas, especially in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Now that is the cold side of the storm done. Let's move on to the more significant event for today. Not underestimating the snow event, but this is a pretty significant severe weather threat here. So we have moderate, enhanced, slight, and marginal risks of severe weather. I'm not going to go through just the areas, but we're going to go through some of the larger population centers. So, for that moderate risk, we have Bartlett, Tennessee, South Haven, Mississippi, Greenville, Mississippi, Collierville, Tennessee, and Germantown, Tennessee in that moderate risk. Those are the larger centers of population. In that enhanced risk, we have Memphis, Tennessee, Jackson, Mississippi, Jackson, Tennessee, Monroe, Louisiana, and Meridian, Mississippi. In that slight risk, we have Nashville, New Orleans, Birmingham, Baton Rouge, and Shreveport. And in that marginal risk, we have Houston, St. Louis, Louisville, Montgomery, and Chattanooga. So overall, we have, I guess, probably closer to that 25 to 30 million marker, going to be under some sort of severe weather during the day on Tuesday. Now, our tornado risk is really where you're going to start to see this. We have a 15% chance of tornadoes in that moderate risk area. So if you were in any of those cities or around any of those cities in that moderate risk area, 15% chance of tornadoes, as well as that significant severe threat, which is a 10% or greater probability of EF2 to EF5 tornadoes, so they're stronger tornadoes. Winds roughly correlate to that categorical risk, 30% chance in that moderate and enhanced risk areas. And hail general 15% chance across much of the region. So let's go through some timing here. Let's start off here. I'm going to do everything here in Eastern time, just because that's what I'm calibrated for. But you can see here some thunderstorms starting to pop up here around, that would be right around, let's call it 2 p.m. Eastern time, so 1 p.m. Central. And those thunderstorms only get worse and worse, as you can see, as they roll across Mississippi and Alabama through about, let's say that line comes through right around, this would be, let's say, that would be 8 a.m. Wednesday morning. So this area is really going to be under the gun with some of these thunderstorms for quite a while. And now you can see here that it's not just one line of thunderstorms, they are sporadic thunderstorms, and they start to line up into that line of thunderstorms towards that 8 a.m. hour on Wednesday, and eventually starts to move to the south and east. But during this actual severe weather threat, we're going to be seeing more isolated thunderstorms. So let's take a look here at our surface-based cape. These should be a little bit higher of values. So you can see 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram there in Louisiana, really fueling a lot of these thunderstorms. You can see in our moderate risk area, which is up here, the cape isn't that high, but there's enough energy down here to really start to spark some of those thunderstorms. And you can see that on our simulated radar here, that most of those thunderstorms are starting to pop up in the Louisiana area and move through Mississippi. And that results in our significant tornado parameter, which is basically what we use as our torcon, and those values skyrocketing here. Some areas all the way up to an 8.4 and up towards our moderate risk area. I think right here is the highest. That's 4.2. That's 3.6. So you can see a lot higher of amounts than we usually get in late November. So this is really going to be a very significant severe weather threat in this area, and I think that the main timing for these really bad thunderstorms that could produce tornadoes is right in here. So let's start it off here with, that would be right around 1 p.m. Eastern, and that would be noon Central Time, and then stretching all the way through, and I'm going to cut it off right around here, and that would be 1 a.m. Eastern Time Wednesday morning, or midnight Wednesday morning Central Time. So that's really the time frame that you have here for these more severe thunderstorms. And looking at this area, you could see a tornado producing thunderstorm anywhere from that Shreveport area down, even maybe Baton Rouge, New Orleans area, all the way up to Memphis, Tennessee, and Birmingham, Alabama. So even though the Storm Prediction Center is giving just this area a moderate risk, I am filming this a little bit earlier than I'm posting it, so that moderate risk area could expand to more areas. And just in general, this significant severe threat could be expanded a little bit further to the south here if this model data from the HRRR is correct. So we are going to be looking into this, but it does look like a very significant severe weather threat, a potentially damaging and life-threatening severe weather threat in the lower Mississippi River Valley during the day on Tuesday. Very similar, I think we had one of those in April, I believe, that expansive tornado outbreak. So this is a very similar setup in a very similar area. So really on the lookout for some very damaging thunderstorms and damaging tornadoes in this area. And then just final recap here, looking at some fairly significant snow for the upper Midwest, including the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, between the early morning and late afternoon hours during your day on Tuesday, with some of the higher amounts stretching up to that 10-inch marker. With, on the southern side of the storm, some potentially damaging thunderstorms impacting the lower Mississippi River Valley, which could produce very strong thunderstorms and very strong tornadoes. So we are on the lookout here for that typical fall setup to be creating hecticness on both the wintry and the severe sides of the storm. But that is all the information I have for today. If you enjoyed this video and found it informative, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting the bell. It helps out a lot. But that is all the information I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.